All of these evidences of a failed state that are gawking at you, Afrique de Sud, were already glaring 10 years ago. They were already glaring 20 years ago. But you done kicked Charlize Theron to the curb for calling out your men for being crazy. And now I'm in South Africa and I've been here all this time. And look at what you're doing with me too. You're kicking me out even though I'm a whole citizen that does not have anywhere else to go. I don't have a Hollywood career as an actress. I'm just a struggling lady that has been kicked out of the economy because South Africans decided that I must get myself married off to a Satan. Keep your dastardly land. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I am not doing it just by mere virtue of the fact that people feel entitled to me and are annoyed by the fact that I won't be a side piece, a mistress. I won't be a second wife. I won't go and enter into a blended family with immense 20 kids despite me having none. Yeah, me refusing to do all these things has caused South Africans to think that them huffing and puffing and blowing their houses down. They have imagined that all that childish reaction to my pain, because I won't accommodate them, is the judgment or the punishment of my person, when rather it is evidence of the fact that there is a metastasizing cancer in their bones that they're completely ignoring. Do you rubbish? Do you crazy? Do you worthlessness? Do you ridiculous? Do you? The interruptions are astronomical. And my battery is running out on my phone. That's the more important thing. I need to use the loo. I've been delaying it. I'm so pressed to pee. Because the toilet doesn't freaking flush. Char. Washing hands with difficulty. Ingati me, I live in Mzansi. Some Bundu River place. Ish. I know shame. I'm sorry like sorry can't get no more sorry. Did I show you this ergonomic design? It's very robust, beautiful design of lipstick. It doesn't break like proper. This is plastic and it's like a liquid lip gloss lipstick. It's very, very extremely moisturizing. I already showed you the other day. And then when you like squeeze it, out comes like a little bubble of gloss on top over there. Focus, you little animal. Focus. Focus, you little animal. Focus. Maybe I should take my face out the frame. Then you'll see it. The little animal. Focus, you little animal. Focus. Why won't this little animal focus? I said focus, you little animal. Focus. Focus, you little animal. Focus. Sure, what's going on with my gloss is exactly what it is that it have been my attempts at dealing with the cray-cray South African conglomerate. Been like, focus, you little animal. Anyway, I wanted to show you the gloss and how it comes out as plastic, so it doesn't break. It doesn't break. It doesn't get off on you all up in your grill. It's not messy. What? And guess where I found this thing? Chinatown for 20 bucks. Ergonomic design from here to Timbuktu. It's just lovely. Long story short, sister know how to live on a budget now. But when I am this excellent, it's called cis CISOU, CISOU, New York, SOW, sorry. New York, New York, Lip Rouge, New York, let me, New York. It is beautiful, but the little animal won't focus. And look at it, look at this little animal. It's actually killing on my lips. The little animal won't focus, but it's cute. Ish. No. Focus. Are you a little animal? Focus. Anyway, whatever. The little animal was giving me grief, but it's alright. My period pains are subsiding. Okay, I'm starting to feel better. Yeah, and it's cooler outside too. And my phone is charging, and this thing still has a whir, but I don't know for how long. I still have a whir in it because it charged. This little animal, where shall I put it, seeing as it won't focus? Focus, you little animal, focus. Focus, you little animal. Anyway, yeah, yo, why is this thing so dirty on the inside with lipstick? It shouldn't be. The little animal. I am not an 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 animal. I'm sorry. Whatever. I just had to like clean it. Okay, the whole cleaning procedure. I was supposed to use tissue. Why is it so dirty though? It's squeezing the dirty. Yeah, look, South Africa. Okay, let me not waste my whirl. It's really kind of dying off. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! 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 Oh no! Oh no! This thing was dipped inside water. Or is it gonna go next time? I me if I get electrocuted. To live is Christ, but to die is gain. Yeah. I've been suffering for a long time, so really it's ideal that I should go to heaven. I'm very exhausted. I'm tired of all the crazy of this country, so really and truly, if I get electrocuted, just let me go home early anyway. Doubt it though. Listen, Afrika suit, we're not doing this, okay? Nobody is doing this, frankly. I mean, there are hopes and desires and ambitions in these streets that this is going to be done, but really and truly the reality is that we're done. This here is not something that's giving, and nobody is going to be out here pitying me with any level of prosperity, because I also find it heinous that anybody pities me at all when I'm the only person here rational and sober and reasonable. That's just the thing about a nation that is a failed state, or at least en route there. They pity the wrong people. In other words, those who are protagonists for a struggle, those who are out here making war with the dingy system, until such time that they gain their justice and they finally ride out into the sunset of recovery. Everybody be out here pitying them because apparently nothing's ever gonna give until it does. So I am sorry for your naivete. Really, I am. We are deeply apologetic. We're all about cleaning our stuff because we like water and we don't know. What is with the drought? What is with the drought? For 5 days I asked my mom, who just came back, when they're gonna restore our water because it was supposed to come back today. And she's like, they said 9 p.m. I'm like, what's with the 9 p.m.? How about 9 a.m.? That's giving, because people shower in, I don't know, the morning. Anyway, whatever. But not in this country. Everybody be forced to go and take a very midnight shower. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Don't nobody care. We're not doing this. Afrika suit, like proper, I told you we're not doing this, alright? All of you with your GBV rando police people working on nothing but such cases as those. Mamelang, I don't know how many times I can say this. Is this gonna give me an electric shock because it was dipped in my water by mistake? Shall we test it? Is that what's gonna happen? Are we going to heaven any minute now? I guess sure. Mamelang Zanza freak the suit. All of y'all that don't have a wear. I have one, you don't. Long story short, I've got air and you don't. You made me Jordan Sparks, but not for long. Tell me how should I breathe with no air? But look at me breathing. I'm breathing because I'm in Christ. I do not know how many times I have to say this, okay? Your guilt is not going to achieve anything. Your, what is the word that I'm looking for right now? Your pity, not gonna give, not gonna accommodate, not going to whirl, okay? Nothing is going to work out for you. I am going to look like I'm losing until it's clear that I'm not. I want my word to be maintained, but you know, I gotta choose between my phone battery and this, and frankly, it's the phone. It's the phone. I need the phone to work that I can record my message to the nth degree of itself, so my word is finishing. No more word. Only a slight word. I am mourning the whir, just in the same way that we are just be mourning the water. South Africa, maybe this thing is distracting me, hey? Just cause like it just keeps whirring and whirring. I'm dilly-dallying, I'm meandering. Maybe if I switch it off and let go, I'll be a lot more focused. What do you think? Oh no! Yeah, it's this thing. Fine. It's dying off, so I guess we go back to the book. Alright. Mamelang Zanza frikte suit, ne? I don't know how many times I don't know how many times I have got to say this. I'll speak for my country, but this is likely a reality everywhere else it ought to be. Remember the Salem witch trials? Yeah. In Massachusetts? In America all those years ago. Yeah. Do you know why America is presently a world superpower? Yeah. It's because they took witchcraft seriously at some point in the very beginning of their faith. The Puritans, Jonathan Edwards, men like those, originated from them. And they took abominations like sorcery so seriously that they literally hung some females at the stake. Or they hung them, right? Or they burnt them at the stake, or they hung them. I think they hung them, whatever. Or burned them, I don't know. But there was severe judgment for witchcraft. And now today, those Salem witch trials, or now today, all that hatred of sorcery and calling out the immoral gangster cray-cray lady from among you is frowned upon. So they are falling apart as a country. But in the beginning, they dealt with witchcraft in a very harsh, they took no prisoners, essentially, fashion. Why would they say that? Why would they do that? Let's think about the Puritans in Salem. Let's think about the Puritans in old school America, the very beginning stages of that country. Let's think about them. Yeah. Why under heaven would they be so harsh against sorcery? Yes, it's because the Lord hates it. But more than anything, who in the world under heaven knows what that random baboon can do? I mean, you're dealing with a time where there's yet to be too many medical advancements, right? In terms of dealing with people's illnesses in the body. So if somebody just suddenly breaks out into isiqhito, and it is suspected that some witch did it, I mean, how do you even begin to administer medication to an individual of this nature? What do you do? What are you gonna do when you suddenly have hives on your skin? I told you guys the other day of a TikTok that I watched of some female lady that recorded her face during a time when she had what they call isiqhito. Isiqhito is basically a curse, very below the belt, kind of lackluster, selfish, has everything to do with it's all about me and I want to be the only one that's lookable in the straight type witchcraft. Kind of sorcery where it is that a chick meets you, thinks you're too pretty or your skin is too clear, and then next week you've got like a whole bunch of acne. Next week you've got like a whole bunch of like rash, like you don't know what it is, or mumps, lumps, bumps, shigeon, pox. You've got something. And you be out here thinking that's what's good, that oh my, I must have eaten something, or oh my, I must have slept on some funny surface, oh my, it's an allergy, oh my. Essentially you say oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. And then you start to go and visit doctors, and the doctors are like, take cuticura, take what is this, antiseptic ointment, yeah, take this, take that. Doctor prescribes something to you. Maybe they might give you an antifungal medication, and it just doesn't go away. It just doesn't go away. Hey, like proper, you think like they will diagnose you with what it looks like it is on the surface, and then you will go home and take meds and nothing will give. We call it isikhetho. Essentially, they like khetha is to tell, to pour. They pour something on you, and then next thing you've got acne when you used to have perfectly good skin, or you've got a rash, or you've got hives, or you've got whatever. And when you go to a doctor, nothing works. Doctors end up being like, oh, it's eczema, baby. Hey, doesn't really go away. You can only manage it. When doctors start to tell you that you have a chronic condition that you can't necessarily cure, only manage, like you've got diabetes or whatever, but you used to have this perfect skin. And then next thing, you go to church and they pray for you, or you pray for yourself, and then you come to discover that this thing was spiritual. Or you go to all these distractions. You go to a sangoma, because that's what happens, right? These sangomas would like to be diagnosticians themselves, the way that Christians are. So the very same stuff that we do, they try to do it. They've got familiar spirits that they work with, and these familiar spirits will tell you, oh, somebody out here poured something on your face, this thing. And the way that you're going to deal with it is by doing this rite, this ritual, this dialogue, this water fish paste, etc. They give a plethora of solutions for cray stuff that's going on in these streets on your face. And instead of seeking out the Lord, they will then seek out all other solutions. And because the devil loves to maintain a deception, every so often when you go to see a sangoma for isikhetho, it actually disappears. But what it confirms is that this here is a spiritual issue. A spiritual issue. All along you've been going to Western medication, you've been going to Western doctors, and they've been like, oh, I don't know, it's just manageable. I just put this ointment. If it gets really bad, come back. But largely, sorry, you've got a new case of eczema. I'm very sorry. Some rashes only advance later on in life. Can't really tell you what that is. Africa is teeming at the folds. South Africa is, of course, therefore no exception, with a whole bunch of undiagnosable illnesses that are unexplainable by doctors because of these randos that keep on bewitching everybody on the left and on the right. So when people finally decide to fast and pray, and then something that a doctor could not deal with suddenly disappears, it can help you understand why the Salem witch trials had to happen. When you're living in a time before, I believe it might have been before penicillin. If it's a penicillin, it was before the bubonic plague happened in the 13th century, right? When did the Puritans, was it the 13th or the 14th century? The Puritans came when was okay, look, maybe penicillin had already been innovated by the time the Puritans came on board. But what I'm trying to get at is that medical technology, all the wonderful interventions that we have now today to deal with a plethora of random things that we can ever experience, all the tests that can be done, all the machinery and equipment that we can look into very carefully to isolate a root cause of whatever. That stuff was not going on. It was not a thing back then. Stuff was still advancing. So illnesses, disease, literally there was a time when leprosy, which is perfectly treatable now today, was just this like lifetime scorn of a disease that would just follow you around for the rest of your days. The days of Christ, the biblical times, leprosy was like a whole thing that if you had it, you were done for. You will remember King Naaman. So when you're living that long ago, and diseases can kill people, ring of roses, a bucket full of poses, a tissue, we all fall down. That was based on the influenza. A tissue essentially sneezing. The flu is perfectly treatable. Nobody should have to die from it. Get a flu shot, you're good. Or if you have influenza, go to the doctor. They'll give you some antibiotics and you'll be right as rain in a few days, hopping up and down in these streets like a kangaroo. Your body then develops antibodies, and the next year your flu's not so bad. And basically everybody can live to see the next year. We're living in a wonderful time medically, but it hasn't always been that way. So when witches be out to giving people flu, when witches be out to be giving people rashes, when witches be out to giving people cloasma like proper, there were some baboons in the South African streets that tried to give me cloasma, and it was not, cloasma is an understatement. They wanted to give me the chubaba in South African language, in our language, in my language, Tswana, Sotho, whatever. It's called chubaba. There's only one word for it, but there are variances of cloasma in English. Not cloasma, of chubaba in English. There are varying kinds of chubabas. In my language, it's just chubaba. They call it a chubaba, right? But in English, chubaba stands for everything. But there are degrees of chubabas. And in my dream, I saw chubaba that is what we call ochronosis. Listen, all chubabas are equal, but some chubabas are more equal than others. Women, when they're pregnant because of hormonal imbalances, can get melasma or cloasma, of which are just these patchy, hyperpigmented spots that you see largely on your chin, not on your chin, sorry, on your cheeks, maybe on your chin, perhaps like, nah, barely ever on the forehead, but it's pretty much around these areas, these three places. That's where you would get cloasma or melasma. Do you understand? It's a form of hyperpigmentation. Dark spots are a form of hyperpigmentation, but they're not cloasma. They are post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation that you get as a result of a pimple. And then there is melasma that can be caused by sun exposure, aging, and bad products. Basically, when you overkill, when it comes to the usage a lot of times of lightening creams, you can find yourself getting the chubaba, right? Otherwise known as melasma. But if you take it really far, like when you use these skin lightening creams in other parts of Africa that are illegal in other parts of the world, like hydroquinone or whatnot, when you use that without a prescription for extended periods of time, you can get a form of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation called ochronosis, and ochronosis is irreversible. It is a super blackening. You've seen those mamas. You be thinking they be chilling in the sun for too long, but no, it has nothing to do with the sun. Not that kind of a chubaba, right? It's super black in this area over here, and there is nothing they can do about it. There is no treatment available. There is no tyrosinase inhibitor in these streets that can ever be prescribed that'll ever reverse that, because it is the absolute decimation of your skin barrier because of the use of harsh chemicals like hydroquinone, these skin lightening creams. That's why it is recommended that when you've got melasma, whatever, all that jazz, go to a dermatologist or do some pretty hard knock studies yourself if at all you're insistent on self-treating type establishment thing. Yeah. Well, in my dream, I saw myself having ochronosis. In other words, irreversible hyperpigmentation. Not the kind that you get because you was pregnant, not the type that you get because you was in the sun for a minute or you're getting older, not the type that you get that a dermatologist can treat with prescribed tyrosinase inhibitors, but the type that you get because you are just squirting hydroquinone on your face, unregulated by your government first and foremost, and secondly your dermatologist. And because you lack knowledge, you lack understanding, God's people perish for a lack of understanding. You out here getting super light, looking like a white chick, only to later on get these black, dark spots, patches on your face that nobody can fix. Nobody can fix them. Nobody can fix them. I dreamt I had ochronosis. Now, ochronosis is untreatable. And if at all, it can be induced on a person's face, not by the irresponsibility of overkilling with some excessive tyrosinase inhibitor that is not regulated by your government because it's uncouth that way. But you get it just because some witch done did it. You get it just because some baboon felt like that's what needed to happen. Yeah, man, you can see how the Salem witch trials had to happen. While ochronosis is not fatal, it's not lethal, it's not actually going to be sending you to the grave, some things that these people administer into your bones are fatal. We all know what happened with Precious Simelane, that actress in the country that perished from a disease and illness that nobody know what happened over there. She went to doctors, she went everywhere, nothing gave. That chick that used to act on Backstage It was speculated that she was bewitched, she was human sacrificed, and she died from a mysterious illness that nobody understood. This is the kind of stuff that can cause a very holy conglomerate of men running a Puritan village in Salem, Massachusetts to be like, sorry? Once we discover that you are doing a strange thing, once we discover that you are a witch, you gotta die. Once we discover that you are a witch, you have got to be killed. The Bible says, suffer not the witch to live, let that rando not survive. Stone them to death. But we're in 2024, so we're a lot more lenient now. He who has no sin, let him cast the first stone. But you can see why, at some point, people be out here killing you for sorcery, right? I mean, Salem and the witch trials therein are famous. They're popular, they're world-renowned. They're known because they're American. And they became a superpower, so everybody knows their history. But come to Africa, and you will see the Salem witch trials outworked in villages, especially in the rural areas, sparsely scattered across spots out there in the wilderness. Black people taking matters into their own hands, because just like in old school Salem or old school Earth, where we don't have penicillin, we don't have antifungal medication, we don't have paracetamol, we don't have proper, like, our medicine is not advanced. A small little sneeze can kill people. A tissue, we all fall down. That was based on influenza. So we cannot be having people that can induce a pestilence living among us. I do apologize, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that was back in the day before medical technology had advanced such that you could not just get a flu shot for something that used to kill an entire population of people back in the day, like the Spanish flu. You know how it like eliminated a whole bunch of folk? Yeah, no longer. And yeah, not so much no longer, but for the very same reasons that witches were feared to the point of death, and what it is that they were doing was unexplainable. Nobody could cure it, and also it was not known the quantity or the magnitude of how far out it can spread. This pestilence, this plague, there is no stopping it but for stopping the one causing the plague, the witch. And if we don't kill this person, literally the whole freaking village could die, right? Yeah, well, I mean, then move that over to poor people. Even if they're living in 2024, and I told you guys the other day about how it is that in South Africa there are certain rural villages where it is that there's no running water. They have to lean on these funny little tanks that they have to walk long distances to get to, right? There's no electricity. So therefore, if there's no running water, no electricity, no plumbing, you can trust that in the close vicinity and in close proximity, there also are no clinics or hospitals that are readily and easily accessible. It is not easy for you to just go and see a doctor. So people lean on herbs, on basically their own vigor, food, just their strength. Their own concocted medicines are what it is that they lean on. What they pick from the ground is what it is that they lean on. And if things get really super bad, they have to trust an uncle that has a car to drive them very far away. And even then, he's the only one in the village that has a car. Yeah, so people can't be affording to get sick in places like those. Therefore, they take no prisoners also in such villages when it comes to witchcraft. If you get found wanting, practicing this thing, it's like, do you think I have a hospital in 5 kilometers? Do you think I've got the luxury of a 200-meter away clinic? Do you think I've got the luxury of washing my hands 5 times a day to eradicate bacteria? Do you think I've got the luxury to out here be eating a 7 colors full course meal full of anti-inflammatory superpowers, superfoods to deal with the sickness? Do you think I can just find ginseng and ginger just hanging around in my garden? Or I am just living on basic staples like pap and every so often a little bit of boerewors. I don't have the luxury to be eating a diet rich with superfoods. I don't have the luxury to also, like I said, wash my hands 20 times a day. I don't have the luxury to be out here pedantic about taking my multivitamins, and also the luxury to, with the smallest little sneeze, achoo, I'm out here going to a chemist in a whole supermarket to buy a lozenge and a cough syrup. And worse yet, walk into a clinic, pay a doctor, pay a GP to test me, put a stethoscope on my chest, listen for my heart, ask me to breathe in and out, and then prescribe for me antibiotics. I don't have that luxury. So if you are going to make me fall sick and make me have to wait for some uncle who's the only one here that has a car to rock up after 5 days to take me to a clinic where I'm going to queue for 10 hours. Honey, if I find out that you did it, you're out like a light. You are being killed. Vigilante justice against witchcraft happens a lot in rural areas where people are that poor, because just like the Puritans, just like the people of old that could not afford a tissue, we all fall down. That the people that can't afford the smallest little sniffle, when then there's somebody who brings on sniffles, a person who brings on ochronosis, a person who gives you headaches that you don't know, a person that gives you a nosebleed and you don't know what that's about. If you get found doing anything like that, in a city like that, a village like that, a town like that, a people like that, you can call them paranoid and overkilling as much as you want, like the way that the Puritans were frowned upon for the witch trials. But something as unseen, unknown, and unquantifiable as to the magnitude of its wrath, in its wake, how much disaster it can cause, something that that vapid, something that untouchable, unquantifiable, like I said. It's just a vapor that cannot be contained. Type of stuff that should cause a quarantine. But what do you quarantine? Who do you quarantine? And at what height? What level? How many? What do you do when a witch has decided that an entire village needs to come down with a pestilence? And seeing as magic is real, people actually die. Precious Simelane died. That woman on TikTok got hives. People get acne. People get cloasma, melasma. People get, sometimes in the unexplained cases, maybe even of ochronosis. But they did not use hydroquinone. When you can induce a cancer in a person, I once had a cousin that cursed me to get cancer, y'all, like a whole tumor, anywhere. She was content with it being anywhere in my body, whether it's in the brain, the nose, the skin, whether it's in the breast, the cervix, pancreas, anything. She just needs to be knocked out by cancer. I mean, just the fact that she could do a cancer spell means it's possible for people to be given cancer with witchcraft. I mean, of course it didn't work with me because, you know, consecrated, I'm in Christ, I'm healthy, ain't no need to go see any oncologists without medical aid. But just the fact that there was faith that that could be done says that these people can put life-threatening diseases in people just like they did with Precious Simelane. And when people don't have medical aid money and also no access to clinics, hospitals, in any near environment, they kill witches. They take matters into their own hands. They don't have the luxury of constantly trial by erroring to try and figure out what's wrong with this person, out here spending 10 days in a hospital with doctors busy taking your blood, exsanguinating the living daylights out of you, testing for all different kinds of things. Not everybody has the luxury to try and find out what is wrong with them, only for them to sadly, just like Precious Simelane had medical assistance, only to die anyway. Yeah, well, those people who end up suspecting you for doing stuff like that, I can see how they end up killing. And so therefore I have absolutely no qualms with the Salem witch trials, the way that a lot of people do. Some of them very potentially were unfairly killed, those women. Maybe they weren't really witches, but that level of paranoia, I can see how it would be inspired into people's bones, because like I said, this thing is a vapor. It's unquantifiable. It's in the sky, you don't know how far it goes. It's an epidemic, a plague, a pathogen spreading with no ability at all to quarantine or even figure out what in the world can stop it. It is spiritual. So these people are bioterrorists in the worst way. And yet they're sitting in your backyard. They're your best friends, they're your mothers, they're your fathers, they're your queens and your kings, they're your leaders in your countries, and they're busy spreading pathogens on the earth, diseasing people, causing car accidents, like proper, they call, like, if a spell can cause a heart attack, that is a pestilence. Why under heaven are they still breathing? Exactly. You get my point. I spoke all that to say this. It's cool enough now for me to put down any cooling paraphernalia. Yeah. Let's put the book down. The Puritans had legalized in their own little government, or had placed into their own little legislation rather, the necessity to put a witch through a trial, due process, court. But when society becomes evil, and when it starts to become lax, loosening bonds around that which is wrong and that which is right, everything now starts to go, right? So what the Puritans did was the perfect thing. They regulated witchcraft. They regulated sorcery. They put it in canon, saying that you cannot do this thing, and if you get found doing it, then these are the judgments that are going to follow. This is the recourse that is necessarily going to be awarded your victims. At some point, even fornication was illegal, and if you were found doing it, lights out, right? You would get hurt. Well, when society loosens its morals over time, in this climate of, when it's not the ancient days now, your bigoted, dogmatic, and old school, antiquated are your ideals. Karabo, relax. Yeah, okay, whatever, boo. With you imagining me antiquated in the way that I think. But look at your country now. Suffering, suffocating, under the very refusal to embrace my antiquated ideas. What are my antiquated ideas that I've been putting out there for all this time? I've been saying, this nonsense of all of y'all needs to be regulated. Because why wouldn't you regulate theft at the store? Why wouldn't you regulate murder on the dance floor? Why would you not regulate money laundering, embezzlement, racketeering, unsavory business practices, larceny? Why would you not regulate fraud? Why under heaven would you not regulate rape? Why would you not regulate manslaughter, be it culpable or premeditated? Why under heaven would you not regulate how we drive on the roads? And so therefore speeding is illegal beyond a certain kilometerage per hour. Why would you not regulate that if absent of regulating it, there would be what we call anarchy in the country? If you don't regulate the speed limit on the highway, we would be dealing with violent crashes out here, just extracting souls from the country at more rates than is absolutely necessary, because people can drive at 240 kilometers an hour without facing any legal action on the highway. They can just drive at their leisure, and if they cause a multi-car vehicle pileup, I mean, don't nobody need to go to prison for it. I mean, guys, you know, there was a time when I was actually alive, believe it or not. I'm 40 years old. There was a time when in my lifetime, in my country, it was okay, it was legal to drink and drive. It was legal to drink and drive. Like, I can't even fathom a time of that nature. But I know that drinking and driving, it being made illegal, past a certain limit, I know that there was a time when it wasn't a thing, where people could drive as drunk as they wanted to drive and get home, until it was discovered that this stuff causes accidents, it causes disorientation while driving, it causes death, it causes pain, it causes sorrow, and then they illegalized it. Also, there was a time when it was legal to smoke anywhere and everywhere inside buildings. You could smoke at your desk in the office, like proper stuff like that used to happen when I was growing up. Like a whole corporate building, you out here have a secretary over there that's like flicking a cigarette, and there's an ashtray, and she's smoking in the lobby where there are kids waiting to go and see a dentist or a doctor, until they passed laws saying that smoking In restaurants, in public places, there needs to be a segregated place where you can smoke. And if you smoke just walking up and down on the streets on that day, if you smoke where it is that it's not an open area, you are endangering people's lives, because people can pass away from secondhand smoke. So you don't get to smoke in the office with your secretary just there, or your secretary smoking with you just there, or your colleague. You get my point. But I can't believe that there was a time where you could be walking up and down inside a mall with a cigarette. Like, there was a time like that. I remember that there was a time like that, but not today. I can't fathom it. Because they finally realized that certain things are not healthy for the human race. Yeah. So without legislation, there is anarchy. Without government, there is anarchy. Without rules, there is anarchy. So, I mean, if something can spiritually manipulate how things outwork on earth, such that things that are under normal legislation, such that things that are in normal legislation illegal, why would they not be illegal when done using sorcery? If at all, you grabbing a syringe and extracting your own HIV positive blood and then administering that syringe into the bloodstream of another person, just stabbing them with an HIV positive needle, if that can be made illegal, if that is illegal in the country, if that is culpable homicide, why is it not culpable homicide when a man can do a spell on a woman to contract HIV one day? Because that's what my ex-boyfriend did. It's a crime. It's culpable homicide. It's culpable homicide. Why under heaven, if at all, you were to, in your organization where you work, if you were to get found wanting, busted, caught, actively sabotaging the performance or the delivery of your colleague, if you can get found with your hands in the cookie jar, with your hands with a smoking gun, committing that sabotage, if you can undergo a disciplinary hearing at work for that sabotage, because you did something physically, like hide a document or delete emails, and the paper trail can go back to you, the electronic signature can be traced back to you for sabotaging a colleague's work, if you can face disciplinary action for that in the company where you work, why are spells to sabotage people's careers not illegal under our laws, under the South African law, under corporate governance? Whatever it is that are the rules and regulations, that which binds together as with sticky tape how a company operates. If at all something is illegal under company policy, why then, when people use witchcraft on colleagues, why is that not regulated? If at all, putting tswiri tswiri, kwa haina meno, like a duck, if at all sprinkling pepper and salt and spices and sugar and parsley into a woman's drink, otherwise known as roofies, in a club or a bar. Hi. If at all, upon putting roofies in a woman's drink in a bar, if you get found wanting doing that, if you can face charges for attempted sexual assault, if this woman has got one of those lipsticks, you know, not lipstick, but there is this nail polish that you can put on your fingernails that you dip into your drink, and if it changes color, it says that there is roofies in your drink or some kind of a drug. If a woman finds out that the drink that you bought her at the bar, upon dipping her finger into there and the nail polish changes, if she can send you down the rabbit hole of due process for attempted sexual assault, why is Korobela not regulated? Because Korobela is the administering of roofies into a woman's bloodstream or a man's bloodstream. It is the lulling to sleep of a person until you eventually have sex with them. It is bringing a person into your life with magic that would not have said yes. It's lulling them to finally lie under you when they would not have chosen that themselves. I keep saying it time and time again. Korobela is rape. It is date rape. It is roofies. Even though the woman might look like she is consenting, she would not have slept with you if you did not manipulate things that way. So all these men with their bring back lost lover, and women, I guess it goes both ways. All these people manipulating people to marry them. All these people sparking people's drinks. Because that's what some of y'all do, hey? You feed them. You sprinkle herbs and spices and maybe even period blood, semen, saliva in a space cookie. I like to call them space cookies, like putting marijuana in a cookie and then eating it and then getting high. But instead of it being marijuana or some kind of a drug, another drug, mushrooms, it's witchcraft that then is going to make a person high and so lose their ability to think rationally and straight. And with them not being in their right mind, therefore, when they sleep with you or when they stay with you despite having had one foot out the door, they have been on that day manipulated with substances. You have administered roofies into the drinks of people. So amasangoma that are able to administer isidliso are criminals. They are drug dealers that are out just selling pot on the street corner, or marijuana, or not marijuana, that's the same as pot, cocaine, ecstasy, illicit substances. They're selling them on the street corner, but they are called, as they are so lovingly adored by our Constitution, medical practitioners too. They're called doctors too. They're 5 seconds away from signing the Hippocratic Oath. And if at all you're on a Hippocratic Oath, yet do no harm. Why do Sango must not have, seeing as our government calls them doctors? They call them traditional healers, pretty much on par with Western medicine, so as not undermine their practice. So if at all they're on par with Western medicine, should they not have some kind of oath that they also sign that also says do no harm? And if at all isichito does harm, if it brings hives on a person's face, new acne, asthma, if also it can make a woman dizzy until she sleeps with a man, it's roofies. You are dispensing illicit substances. You are an illegal pharmacist. You are no different from somebody running a meth laboratory. You are properly out here cutting and splicing like you're freaking Pablo Escobar, some cocaine, in the jungles of Colombia. You are a drug lord, Sangoma. Do you understand? When you give any man or any woman in these streets, it's keto, whatever it is that a person is actually going to be consuming, a space cake, you are operating a strange business. And you should have the popo out here on your neck, pouncing on you like a beast. But no, the popo is not trying to deal with any of that, because the popo is saying that those people have a right to a freedom of religion. If under the Constitution all rights are with limitations insofar as these rights don't harm other people, you can practice them, why is this right to religion not regulated? Also similarly saying that insofar as your practice or your religion is not out here infringing other rights, right? A right is not a right that is enforceable under the Constitution if at all it infringes other rights. If at all it infringes a superior law, it is no longer applicable. So therefore, the right to life that is in the Constitution trumps and squelches the right to a freedom of religion. When you out here doing a spell that can cause a person to die, like either a human sacrifice ritual or messing up with a person's ecosystems so much that they could potentially die. We all know that clinical depression is a disease. It's a real diagnosable disease. On the list of diseases that doctors look at, it is something that can successfully get you given a doctor's note over, that you can have medication dispensed concerning, prescribed concerning, etc. And we all know what causes depression, right? Don't we? We do. I am so distracted. There's just so much activity. But anyway, whatever, let's carry on. We all know what causes depression. Go onto any website of any mental health. Go onto any mental health website of any country, and you will come to learn that the bullet points that people must look out for potential depression are the same across all countries. You are sleepless, or you either can't sleep, insomnia, or you sleep too much. Either you can't eat or you eat too much. You are inconsolable. You look forward to nothing. You are despondent. You are irrational concerning your outlook of life. You're despaired. And then in terms of the symptoms, not symptoms, those are the symptoms, but the causes. It is generally accepted across even all of these websites that things like unemployment can cause it. Things like loss of bereavement, loss of a loved one, loss of a pet, loss of debt, being put in a whole bunch of debt, loneliness. Basically, there are a plethora of things that can account for why depression is induced in a person's bones. So if you can restrict or limit these factors, like if somebody's unemployed, try and see if you can't help them with a job. If they're bereaved, try and see if you can't give them grief counseling. If they've lost a pet, again, grief counseling. That, to basically make sure that this permanent solution to a temporary issue does not take a person out. So when people can induce conditions in a person's life so as to cause this fatal mental illness called depression, when people can induce in a person's bones conditions that can bring about a clinical depression, that can bring about, therefore, suicide, ideation in a person, that ought then on that day rightly qualify as, if at all it were to undergo due process, it should qualify as attempted murder when the person in question that survives suicide attacks on them through taking away jobs, through bereaving them, killing family members, human sacrifice rituals, through killing pets, through basically messing with the quality of their lives, causing loneliness. These spells on marriages to separate. Another cause of depression can be divorce. So all these people that sow discord between husbands and wives, trying to break up marriages, and then next thing somebody has actually committed suicide. Proper. If they die, it should be culpable homicide. If they die, it should be culpable homicide. If they don't die, it should be attempted murder. If at all these people can be found wanting in this fashion. Witchcraft allows people to commit a slew of crimes, however, get away with it. And in the same constitution that awards these little spiritists human rights to practice their religion, they ignore that within this religion there is so much destruction of other human rights, like the right to a freedom of expression. Look at how witches are trying to silence my ministry. And yet under the South African Constitution I have got a right to a freedom of expression. Do I not? Yeah, I do. Look at how they are trying to squash my Christianity. They are trying to make me apostatize from the faith, saying that you're never going to come all right, Karabo, unless you worship ancestors. I was given, last time I checked, a right to a freedom of religion. Under the constitution of my country, I get to choose Christianity as opposed to, for instance, Hinduism. I get to choose Christianity as opposed to, for instance, Islam. I get to choose Christianity as opposed to, for instance, agnosticism, atheism, ancestral worship, witchcraft. I get to choose Christianity, but witches are so coercive in trying to recruit people into their kingdom that they will literally say, unless you twasa ngenkani, you cannot be free. Unless you take on ancestral worship, you cannot be free. Unless you embrace your ancestors, you can't be free. They are so coercive in the way that the rest of us aren't. So they are basically infringing the rest of our human rights in favor of their human right to practice their own religion. This forcefulness on the part of the kingdom of darkness is as a result of a lack of regulation of what you call a freedom of religion. This religion commits crimes against humanity People rape under sorcery. If at all, a person defrauding a company or embezzling funds from a company or stealing money from your bank account, taking 1 cent from 20 million people's bank accounts in order to enrich themselves, embezzlement. If at all, upon being found wanting, they will undergo due process. If they will undergo a court process, a trial for that. Why are witches not being put on trial for wealth transfers? Why are wealth transfers not regarded as embezzlement, larceny, and in the instance of a whole bunch of money, grand larceny? Why are they not looked at as thieves, sticky fingers, burglars, robbers? Why are they not looked at as drug lords or possessing illicit substances? When they have herbs that out here, upon feeding a person, they will lose their mind and end up marrying a man they didn't sign up for. They are a dispensary for satanic drugs. And these drugs they've got such hallucinogen powers that people literally hallucinate, thinking that they're in love with someone when they're not. It's a mushroom. It's a hallucinogen, Korobel. Because it makes you think you're in love when you're not. You see mirages. It's a psychedelic. You be out here having a trip thinking you're in love with a man, only for you to snap out of your trip and find yourself in a marriage to a psychopath you don't even like. Why is that not regulated? It should be, because it's an illegal substance. It should be. It's an illicit substance. It should be. But it's not regulated. It's ill-gotten gain. It is a crime arena that is unregulated. It's anarchy in just this one space. They're able to commit heinous crimes in this country. People also have a right to make a living. Therefore, witchcraft should not be able to take anybody's job away. The sabotage of people's careers, using it, should be illegal. So in other words, what I'm trying to explain right now is that, listen, you love your witchcraft, keep it. Run with your little dingy magic. Adore it, hug it like it's a teddy bear as much as you want. But you don't get to roam around in these streets with, like, for instance, a freedom of expression without, however, being limited in that you cannot, with your freedom of expression, incite gratuitous violence or hate speech. There are limitations to rights. So with witchcraft, do you, Tagat? But you don't get to steal a job. You don't get to take a woman by force. That's rape. This here is sabotage. It is the undermining of the right to make a living. This here is rape. It's not statutory. What is this? It's date rape. When you roofie a person's drink to marry you.